Welcome back to another instant reaction edition of the Night Report podcast. Joining me once again is Richie Schneider. Richie, the people were calling for this. I got so many messages, DMs, texts. Where's the instant reaction for Willie Tyler? Willie Tyler's a big commitment for this football program. He's got versatility along the line. He's massive. He's 6'7", 320, 330 pounds. He's the starting left tackle last year for the University of Louisiana-Monroe. How did this one come together, Richie, and what are we getting in Willie Tyler?
Just like Dunlap. He's another guy that visited back in this past year. I guess I think it was actually early December when he visited for an official visit for the weekend. The staff's been on him for a while. They were one of the first programs to reach out. I think arguably the biggest program to offer it. I guess you could debate that if you're a Virginia fan, but out of those two programs, those were the two Power Fives. And then SMU was he's a big Texas guy. He played at Texas for a couple years. He's actually originally a Wisconsin native, which is interesting to me. How the hell did he end up at Texas? But yeah, he loves the state of Texas. It sounded like he was actually going to end up at SMU. And of course, with every other podcast we do, it seems like breaking news happens every minute right after we're done.
So be prepared for the commitment that happens around noon today, based on our history here.
It's ridiculous at this point, but yeah, I mean, heck of a get. Now the question is Rutgers was telling him he was going to play left tackle.
Interesting.
Rutgers told DiRenzo he was going to play left tackle or guard. So now you got a lot of options now. This just went from an offensive line that, when I put it bluntly, it was dog shit to pretty interesting, like middle tier now. Now we're like talking like huge size. We got a 6'7", 330 guy coming in at Tyler, 6'6", 315 DiRenzo. Dunlap 6'5", 345. I do think he's bigger than that, but it's debatable, whatever. Not the point, but it's just like, holy shit, Greg Schiano just landed 4 transfer portal offensive linemen. And you asked me this a week ago or 10 days ago, I'd probably tell you you're nuts. There's no way that DiRenzo's choosing Rutgers over Oklahoma. Tyler sounds like he's going to SMU. Dunlap sounded like he was Texas bound, but then Texas kind of did whatever they had to do. And now here you are. Rutgers has an offensive line and a little bit of protection for Gavin Wimsatt.
Yeah, I've been critical of the staff for how they've treated the transfer portal. And I mean, I got to give them hats off. They crushed it the last week. I mean, they've gotten 4 offensive line commitments since Saturday, I believe, since Saturday night, including the two jewels, in my opinion, are DiRenzo and Willie Tyler, just because they do have a bit more of a pedigree in terms of starting, and they don't have an injury history, and they're massive human beings. So I think those guys are easy plug and play starters. I think the 2 guards we got, one of them probably starts, but it's just, where do they start? Does one of them move to center? Like, I think it's a good problem to have right now, because even if those guys don't start, they're in the top, 11, 12 of the rotation for offensive line, which is, frankly, it's something that isn't talked about a lot by fans, but it's so important to have depth, because guys are going to miss 2 or 3 games during the middle of the season. You need guys to be fresh going against these massive, talented defensive lines in the Big Ten. Like, the Big Ten's going to have like 6 first-round picks on the D-line this year between the 2 guys from Michigan, Karlaftis, maybe not 6, but there's a lot of talent along the defensive line in the Big Ten.
Yeah, you're probably pretty close with the 6. It sounds like the 2 Michigan guys are going to go like top 15, top 20, which is insane. And Ajabo's stats weren't even like crazy. Like Hutchinson's were nuts, but Ajabo's pretty good too. But yeah, nonetheless, you're adding some size, and that's where it gets a little interesting. Like I said before, you can kind of mix and match these guys. It's pretty clear as day that Schiano saw this offensive line last year and is like, "Ooh, that's not going to work for Gavin. Like, we're going to have to fix that." But he addressed the need for size. Like, a guy like Troy Rainey was playing offensive guard he's listed 6'4", 315. I think that's a little generous. I think he's more like 6'2", 6, maybe 6'3", and he was definitely around the 300 area. But regardless, now you're going to replace him with a guy like Curtis Dunlap, who's 6'5", 345, and it's just a massive difference. Then you got DiRenzo, who's 6'6", 315, playing either guard or center, or guard or tackle. Then Willie Tyler, who's 6'5", 6'6", I'm sorry.
He's 6'7", he's listed out.
Yeah, he's 6'7", 330. So it's just like, holy shit, they just added a ton of size. It's going to be interesting just to see how mix and match these guys. And a guy like Chafani, who I personally think he's going to play center. You don't come in at 6'3", 290 and play guard in the Big Ten, especially in Schiano's world where he wants these massive guys in the interior. So I think he's going to play center, but he's one I'm not 100% sure of where I guess I don't even know if he's going to start right away. I think he might be a little bit of a developmental guy, but either way, you just added at the end of the day, you added guys that are going to take spots out of the rotation, which is what you want to do. You want to improve as much as possible, and it's a huge gets for Rutgers. It's kind of insane. A couple 6 days, 5 days, 4 days, whatever it was. I don't even know.
Yeah, no, this has been, I can't remember ever. I mean, obviously, because the portal is fairly new, this has been probably the most transformative week in Rutgers' recent history in terms of, the amount of immediate improvement that we're going to see based on the commitments we've received. Because if you look at who we got in the high school class, I doubt any of them play this year. Thank God, because I mean, they're high school linemen, but they all have size. They all have big frames. They're all really tall.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It's just, you can clearly tell the staff is prioritizing size with offensive linemen because we didn't have any of that this year for the most part.
Yeah, for sure. I know we've talked about it on the boards. We've talked about it off camera. I didn't expect any of the freshmen to play. The only one that I do think might play more than that 4-game limit is going to be Obi Asamoah. He's phenomenal, man, and he fits that narrative of a mauler in the middle. They want him to play center. I know he played guard and even a little bit of tackle for his high school team, but he had 6'3". I think he's around 300 mark. I forget exactly what he was, but very good get. I think at the end of the day, he's going to be a guy that's going to push for center more than a guy like Jafani will. I think Jafani is still developmental. I think Kobe is going to be a solidified 3-year starter down the line. And I think he's going to push Zelinskis, who's probably the front runner for starter at the moment. By end of season, it would not shock me by any means if Kobe did take over that spot.
Yeah, because if you look at his pictures from, especially the pictures of like all the guys this summer when they were doing the throne pictures, Kobe looks like he's legitimately like 4 years older than the rest of the guys. He is so thick. He is just like, he looks like a Big Ten lineman already, which is not something you see out of most 16, 17-year-old kids.
Yeah. On top of it, like I said before, he's a mauler. He's a really good player. He played for a very, very good high school in Pickerington. I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't even know.
Yeah, they have I think they have a 5-star either this class or next class.
I forget which class, but yes, they do. They have an insane roster. So it's not like he's coming out of like a different, like a random nobody school that like no one plays. It's like they play like top tier competition every single year. But adding him to the roster is going to be huge. Adding 7 freshmen in general, then 4 transfers. Now you're talking something. Now I think they're done. I think they are done with offensive linemen. Don't quote me on it, because there was another offer technically set out not too long ago in Tremont Shorts, who actually probably has the highest PFF grades out of everyone.
Yeah, Tremont Shorts is phenomenal. He's up there in terms of accolades with Dorenzo. Like he was a multiple time All-American. He had fantastic grades. I think his grades were in the high 80s as well.
And now, I mean, if you can get him, I think they go after him. It's just, I don't think they land him. I think he's going to end up at like, looking at his offer list now, he doesn't have like I think Rutgers might be his only Power 5 actually.
No, he's got more than that.
No, Texas Tech I'm looking at right now too. I don't know. I do think he ends up staying down south, so it doesn't really matter. Moot point. But for Rutgers to strike out on 1 offensive lineman in the portal, maybe 2 if you count Shorts, but I don't really count that because they already got their 4. For them to beat out Oklahoma, beat out Purdue for DiRenzo, beat out SMU, beat out Virginia for Willie Tyler. Dunlap, it's an intriguing situation. I'm not going to say they beat out Texas because they didn't. He was ready to go to Texas, it sounds like. But Texas, at the end of the day, according to their assistant down there I talked to, he said that they just didn't have room for him. Whatever, mind you. Chafani, solid get, depth. He doesn't have to be a starter. That's one, like, I know, like, everyone wants to hype it up and, like, these guys are all going to start. Like, they don't have to be starters. Like you said before, they're going to rotate in and out, like, nonstop. I know Ulrich likes to rotate 6-7 guys if he can. The issue was he couldn't because there was no one good enough to rotate in. So just
that creates a problem of fatigue. Like these guys, he feels confident in like 5-6 guys maybe. And when those guys are, gassed in the 3rd, 4th quarter, that's when penetration happens in the backfield. That's when just problems can happen. And I hate to cut you off, but I know we did tease a special surprise on the board. So, and welcome to the show, the most recent transfer portal commit, Willie Tyler. Willie, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So it seemed like you had a really tough decision yesterday. You were down to Rutgers and SMU. What made Rutgers be the school that you ended up ultimately deciding on?
Honestly, it came down to like the support staff of offensive line help, Coach Yano. I wasn't really responding to any of the coaches during the week. They kind of knew I was back and forth. Coach A, Coach Valone, like they always texting me. Coach Hoffman, I wasn't responding. I wasn't trying to get recruited into it. I was just trying to make the best decision for me. And while I was at the gym yesterday, I had called my dad, and I was just like, I don't know which one to pick. And it's like 7:19, and then 7:30 hit. I still didn't know, and it was like 7:49. I just texted Coach Shiana. I was like, "Let's get to work," and I posted.
That's awesome. So you were really down to the wire there.
Yeah, it was like literally.
All right, so Willie, I know we've talked in the past. You kind of just mentioned it a little bit. Rutgers has a ton of former offensive linemen on this staff. How much of a factor did that play? Whether it's Augie, Ulrich, Valone, et cetera, et cetera.
It was a big factor. That, and then I mean, you playing the best of the best week in, week out. I mean, the Big Ten edge rushers, I feel like they come out of nowhere, just like this season. I mean, they didn't come out of nowhere, but it was like a flip switch, and you got like 4 edge rushers that could be first rounders or something like that, and that's just like, you know, taking a big bet on myself, and yeah, that's really it.
So Willie, you were in the portal last year. I know Rutgers recruited you last year as well. Did that help having that familiarity with the coaches already from talking to them last spring?
They had followed me, but they never really reached out. Like, a lot of schools were hesitant on me because I was at Texas for 2 years, and I didn't have like anything besides like practice and scrimmage film. So like he reached out towards the end, but like once I didn't have film, like a lot of schools just kind of backed off. Some were kind of playing a wire. Didn't really know if they wanted to take the chance or not. But
so Willie,
you
got it. Go, Richie.
All right. So Willie, let me ask you this: there's a rumor going around. What's the word about this Bama thing I've heard about? Bama reached out last minute or what?
It was, so they had reached out. Like, I have a mentor. He's like, I don't even know how to explain it. He just has a lot of connections. Like, he at the NFL Combine, talking to coaches, like cool with NFL players, and he's cool with some people on the Bama staff. So he had reached out to them, not even knowing that I was making my decision yesterday. And he asked them, like, was they interested in me? They said, yeah. And they had heard about me and stuff. So we got on the phone. I talked to the director of player personnel. And then we figured out the timeline, and just on their end, he said how late he said if I was like graduated in May, it'd probably work out. But if it was mid-year, it'd probably be too late, just because the timing of it when they start school and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Willie, has the staff talked to you about a specific position you'll be coming in at?
So they told me and JD will
Dorenzo?
Yeah.
One
will play left, one will play right, and just see how wherever the other one feels comfortable. I mean, I played both, and I think I read that he played both. So it's just whichever works better.
So Willie, looking back at some of your games this year, I think your best 2 games came against SEC competition. Does that kind of like prep you for this Big Ten level?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people said that, and it was kind of weird to me too, because I felt like those were my best games too.
Mm.
But yeah, I think so. There were like crazy environments, and I mean, being at Texas kind of helped me with that. Like I wasn't. I don't know if people on my team were like shook, but I know I was my first time like in Texas Stadium. We played LSU, and I didn't even play. So like
Is that
just
the Joe Burrow game?
huh?
Was that the Joe Burrow game where he
Yeah,
like ripped your
yeah.
guys' hearts out? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like week 2, and I don't know. That was crazy. I didn't even know LSU was gonna be that good because we only lost by like a touchdown, I think. But yeah, I feel like that kind of prepared me because I feel like once you feel the noise, like you hear the noise, it kind of shocks you a little bit being on the field, like looking in the stands. But then you get a snap going, and it's like everything slows down, or at least it did for me. So I feel like that'll help in the long run. I mean, I know we play at Ohio State, so I feel like that's going to be a crazy game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I know you're a Wisconsin guy. You went to high school in Wisconsin. You took a pretty long route to get to Rutgers.
Yeah.
Talk about your journey, man. You've been through a lot, it seems.
Yeah. So coming out of high school, I was a defensive lineman. And then I was supposed to go to Garden City Community College. They wanted to switch me to offensive line because I grew like 2-3 inches after I signed with them. And I was like, no, I'm good. So I was about to go play basketball in college, and I was like on the fence between playing basketball and football. And I ended up enrolling at Iowa Western for offensive lineman. I stayed there 3 semesters. Got a lot of buzz. Like I graduated early, went to Texas. I redshirted, and then I got quarantined a few times going in a fall camp. So I ended up opting out the second year. My staff left, so I felt like that was my best interest to leave too. I mean, the year didn't count, so we had fifth years come back for the sixth. So it was like I'm trying to get on the field also. I went to ULM for 1 semester, and then just didn't feel like that was the best competition I could play, or just the best route for me that can make me reach my goals.
So Willie, I want to talk a little bit more about Rutgers with you. I know you took an official visit recently back in December. Talk a little bit about that trip. And then I also want to talk to you about Gavin Wimsatt. Obviously, he's a 4-star quarterback. How much does that really affect you, like in a portal? Do kids like you actually like look at that and be like, all right, they got a pretty good quarterback. I can go block for him?
Okay. You want me to answer about the visit first, or
Whatever you want first. My bad. It was a long question.
Oh no, it's fine. All right. So the visit, I think I was the only one there, or it might have been a linebacker, but it was just good. I mean, all hands were on. I mean, I definitely felt like they hit. Like at this point, it's like school and football, but it, like, to me, since I have my degree, it's more of a business decision. So they kind of hit the points that I was looking for with recovery, how they train, working out, practice, play scheme. Some people was on the road. Coach Gleason was on the road, but he came in. He made sure he got in. We talked some more ball, and then just making sure that I knew all the support staff. I met everybody that play offensive line and could have hands in and help and develop me more, and just give me pointers in that area. So, I mean, it was a great visit. We ended up going to New York City, so like that was a plus. We seen the big tree.
Was that your first time in New York, Willie?
It was my second. I went in 7th grade for a band trip. I used to play the drums.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, honestly, it was a great visit. My dad came with me, and he loved every part of it. And he's usually it's either a bad visit or a great visit. Like if he doesn't like it, then it's bad. If he likes it, then he likes it. So that was a good sign. He had good vibes from the coaches, so it was just good all around. And then on Gavin, I watched the bowl game, and I mean you could see the flashes of how electric he'll be and stuff like that. He had I don't even know. It didn't look weird, but it was like when he ran, he took the ball, he ran, I think it's like 30, 40 yards.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like he was running 30, 40 yards on the TV, but like he was covering ground, but it was like his strides were so long. Like so
yeah,
you could,
and I hate to compare him to a guy
it.
like Calvin Johnson, but Calvin Johnson looked the same way when you'd see him run. He doesn't look that fast,
Yeah.
but he's blowing by DBs, and that's what it was like for Gavin. He blew by half their secondary.
Yeah. So that was good. I mean the coach is high on him, so that's good. And then now we just got to give him time to make plays.
As an offensive lineman, do you look at something like that though? Like, did that play a factor looking at both programs, like quarterback or?
Yeah, it did somewhat. But then I feel like ultimately for me at least, it just came down to the level of competition. Me wanting to take a bet on myself and the trust in Shiano, and I mean the rest of the staff too.
Yeah, I mean, we can't, as Rutgers fans, we can't wait to get you on campus. We can't wait to see the rest of the transfer offensive line this fall, because we definitely need you guys. I think you guys are going to make a massive impact on this program, not just next year, but moving forward. Richie, you got anything else for Willie? I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, Willie, I got one more for you.
Okay.
I'm sure they've shown you the tape. Raekwon O'Neal has 2 touchdowns as a tackle. How excited are you about that possibility?
I'm all for it. I told the coach, I said I'm an athlete, so I mean you throw it, I gotta score.
I mean, you got the basketball background. I'm sure you have the hands for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Willie, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
no
we've been doing these instant reaction pods, and people were like, when we didn't have the recording last night, people were just like about to burn the boards down. They really wanted to hear both from you and both what we had to say about this commitment. So we really appreciate you coming on. Willie Tyler, this has been another episode of the Night Report podcast. We're signing off.
All right.